welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. One rainy evening, the world turns blurry under the incessant drizzle. I cut my workday short, hoping for a quiet dinner and the warmth of home. As my car pulls into the driveway, the patter of rain on the roof drums a dreary welcome. Stepping inside, the house is unusually silent, the usual chaos of life paused, as if the rain has hushed everything inside. I hang my coat and, drawn by a faint murmur, I edge towards the bedroom. The door is ajar, a sliver of light spilling into the dim hallway. Peeking in, I see her, my wife, Liza. She's sitting by the window, phone in hand, her silhouette softened by the gray backdrop of the stormy sky. She hasn't heard me come in. Her voice, usually so familiar, floats towards me, tinged with a tenderness that feels like a betrayal. "I miss you too," she whispers, a crack in her voice, and then a soft sob. "And I love you. It's just so hard." The words slice through me, sharp and sudden. My heartbeat thunders in my ears, louder even than the storm outside. I realize she isn't talking to me. The room feels colder, the shadows darker. Suddenly, she starts crying. Her sobs are quiet, restrained, as if she's holding back a deluge of emotions. The urge to confront her surges, but I am rooted to the spot by a mix of shock and the sting of her unseen words. "And I can't wait to see you again," she murmurs. The fury builds inside me, a fiery counter to the chill seeping through my veins. Anger sweeps over me, dark and unwelcome. I decide that it is necessary to take revenge for her betrayal. I start by stepping away, retreating silently into the shadows of the hallway to think, to plan. My mind races as I struggle to understand, to formulate a response to this breach of our love. I go to the living room, my mind a swirl of betrayal and hurt. I sit in the dark, the only light coming from the flashes of lightning that occasionally illuminate the room. My thoughts turn dark, plotting revenge. I decide that knowing her secret is not enough, she must feel this pain, too. After what feels like hours, she walks out of the bedroom, wiping her eyes, unaware of the storm inside me. Her face freezes when she sees me sitting in the darkness. "Mark?" Her voice is shaky, surprised. "You're home early. I didn't hear you come in." I stand up, my movements deliberate. "Clearly," I say, my voice calm but cold. "Who were you talking to?" Her eyes widen, a flicker of fear, or perhaps guilt, passing through them. "It was just a friend," she stammers, from work." I nod, barely containing the sarcasm. "Must be a very close friend to make you cry and talk of love and missing them." Liza looks at me, her eyes searching mine, perhaps looking for a sign of belief, or maybe forgiveness. But tonight, I am neither her absolver nor her believer. "I think I'll go for a walk," I say instead, stepping towards the door, grabbing my raincoat. "Clear my head." As I step out into the rain, the cold hits me, but it's a welcome pain, a distraction. I walk under the streetlights, their glow diffused by the raindrops, each step formulating a plan. Revenge is a path I never thought I'd walk, but as the rain soaks through my clothes, it seems the only way to cleanse the betrayal. As I wander through the wet streets, a plan begins to form, clear and sharp as the rain. This is just the beginning. The rain refuses to let up as I walk, my steps aimless at first, but gradually pulling me towards a familiar place, the quaint coffee shop where I first met Liza years ago. The irony of it being the sanctuary tonight isn't lost on me. The bell chimes as I push open the door, the warm light and smell of roasted coffee beans enveloping me. Inside, the usual bustle is muted by the storm, only a few patrons scattered around. I spot an old friend, Dean, hunched over his laptop in a corner. He's a sharp contrast to the warm ambience, his intense focus cutting through the steam and soft music. "Dean!" I call out, my voice rougher than intended. He looks up, his expression shifting from concentration to concern within seconds. Mark? You look like hell, man. What's going on? I hesitate, the truth bitter on my tongue. Can we talk? I ask, my voice low. Dean nods, closing his laptop with a snap. Of course. Talk to me. We grab a secluded table. I recount the evening's revelation, my words heavy, each one soaked in disbelief and pain. Dean listens, his brow furrowing deeper with every word. That's rough, Mark. But are you sure about what you heard? It could be a misunderstanding, he suggests, ever the voice of reason. I shake my head. I heard her, Dean. Clear as the rain outside. She said, I love you, to someone else. What else is there to misunderstand? Dean sighs, leaning back. What are you going to do? Revenge, I say simply. I want her to feel what I felt tonight. That's a dark path, Mark. Maybe it's better to confront her first. Get the whole story. I consider his words, but the seed of betrayal has already taken root. I need to think. I need to make them feel this too. Dean doesn't approve, I can tell, but he nods. Whatever you decide, I'm here for you. Just, be careful, man. Revenge can turn back on you. I leave the coffee shop with a heavy heart, my resolve hardened. I need more information. I decide to track down the friend Liza mentioned. If I can find out who he is, maybe I can understand why this happened. The next day, I start with Liza's phone. She's careful, always has been, but everyone slips up. While she's in the shower, I grab her phone from the bedside table. My hands tremble as I unlock it, her password still the date of our anniversary. The irony stings. I scroll through her messages, emails, but find nothing, no name or number that stands out. Frustration mounts, and I nearly give up when a new message pops up. It's from someone named Jules, and all it says is, "Can we meet today?" Bingo. I jot down the number and plan to follow her today. If she meets this Jules, I'll know. And then I'll decide what my next step is. Liza emerges from the shower, humming softly, oblivious to the storm brewing just beneath the surface of our lives. I watch her, a mix of love and loathing churning in my gut. Going anywhere today? I ask, voice neutral. Just out for some errands, she replies, smiling. Little does she know, I plan to follow, to uncover the depth of her deception. As she leaves, I give her a 10-minute lead, then follow in my car. The streets are slick with rain, the gray skies a perfect backdrop for the turmoil inside me. I tail her from a safe distance, my heart pounding with each turn. She stops at a park, and I see him, a tall figure waiting under an umbrella. Jules. I park and watch as they meet, their embrace lasting a bit too long for just friends. My hands clench the steering wheel, my course set. Today, I'll confront them. Today, I'll start down the path of revenge, no matter where it leads. The storm within matches the fury outside as I step out of my car and head towards them, determined and unyielding. The confrontation is inevitable, and the truth will out, even as the rain falls around me. My feet crunch against the wet gravel as I approach them. The park is nearly empty, the usual joggers deterred by the relentless downpour. Liza and the man she called Jules stand under a large oak, its leaves heavy with rain, providing scant shelter. Liza laughs at something Jules says, and the sound stings like salt in an open wound. I feel my resolve harden, the time for doubts has passed. Hello, Liza, I call out as I draw closer, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. They both turn, startled. Liza's face drains of color as she sees me, her eyes wide, a perfect mirror of guilt. Mark. What are you doing here? She stammers, her voice barely above the hiss of rain. I could ask you the same, I say, my gaze shifting to Jules. He's taller than me, with an easy confidence that now seems like arrogance. Especially since you're here with him. Jules steps forward, offering his hand, which I ignore. I'm Jules, he says, trying to sound friendly, but there's a wariness in his eyes. You must be Mark. Liza has told me a lot about you. Has she now? My tone is icy. Has she also told you that she's my wife? Liza's hands are shaking. Mark, please, let me explain. I think I've heard enough explanations for one day. I cut her off, turning back to Jules. What's your relationship with my wife, Jules? He looks between Liza and me, a frown creasing his brow. We're just friends, Mark. Really, it's not what it looks like. I laugh, bitter and sharp. Not what it looks like. I heard her say she loves you, Jules. That doesn't sound very friendly to me. Liza steps in, her voice desperate. It's not like that, Mark. Please, you have to believe me. Jules is just a good friend, and I was feeling overwhelmed. I needed someone to talk to. Overwhelmed? So, you turn to him instead of your husband. My voice cracks with the strain of holding back my anger. Jules holds up his hands, as if to ward off the accusation. Look, Mark, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let's all just calm down and talk this through like adults. I take a deep breath, trying to quell the rising tide of anger. Talk, then, I say tersely. Explain. Liza takes a hesitant step towards me, her eyes pleading. Jules has been a friend since college. When you and I started having problems, I didn't want to burden you further. He's been a support for me. That's all. Her words sting, reminding me of the distance that had grown between us, the late nights at work, the missed dinners, the unspoken grievances. I never meant to hurt you, she continues, her voice breaking. I just felt so alone. The rain seems to pause as her words hang in the air. I look at her, really look at her, and see the strain around her eyes, the sadness I had been too wrapped up in my own frustrations to notice. I feel Jules' gaze on me, steady and unblinking. I love my wife, Jules, I say, my voice low, the fight draining out of me as quickly as it came. And if what you're saying is true, then I need to fix this, not make it worse. Liza's relief is palpable. She steps closer, her hand reaching for mine. I hesitate, then take it, the familiar warmth a balm to the cold fury that had taken hold of me. Let's go home, Liza, I say quietly. We have a lot to talk about. As we walk back to the car, the rain starts up again, as if the sky is crying the tears I no longer feel strong enough to shed. Jules watches us go, an unreadable expression on his face. Whether he was truly just a friend or something more, I can't yet decide. But I know one thing for certain, the road to healing is long, and it starts with a conversation I should have had long ago. The drive home is quiet, the steady beat of the windshield wipers the only sound amidst our silence. Liza looks out the window, her face reflecting the passing streetlights. I keep my eyes on the road, my mind racing with questions and uncertainties. Once home, we sit at the kitchen table, a place where many of our happier conversations have taken place. Now, it feels like a battleground, the air thick with things unsaid. I think we should start talking, I begin, breaking the silence. Really talking, not just the superficial chats we've been having. Liza nods, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. I agree. I should have been more open with you about how I felt, about everything. Why didn't you tell me you were unhappy? I ask, the hurt evident in my voice. She sighs, a deep, weary sound. I thought I could handle it on my own. I didn't want to bother you with my feelings when you were so stressed with work. It's not a bother, Liza. We're supposed to share these things. That's what marriage is, I say, feeling the gap that had grown between us now more than ever. I know I messed up, she admits, her voice trembling. Talking to Jules, it started out innocently. He was just a friend from the past. But then, as we talked more, I felt a connection, a familiarity. It was comforting. And the I love you. I press, needing to hear her explain. Her face flushes, and she meets my eyes. It was a moment of weakness. I was emotional, and it slipped out. It was wrong. I was talking about how he reminded me of the times we used to be happy, and I said it without thinking. I process her words, the hurt still fresh, but her honesty starts to bridge the gap between us. As we talk more, the doorbell rings, startling us both. I glance at the clock, nearly 10 p.m. Who could it be at this hour? I open the door to find a man standing there, drenched from the rain, holding an envelope. Mark Sorensen, he asks, looking between me and the envelope. Yes, that's me, I reply cautiously. This is for you. I was just instructed to make sure you received it tonight. He hands me the envelope and disappears down the walkway, back into the night. Puzzled, Liza and I open the envelope. Inside, there are several photos and a USB stick. The photos show Jules meeting with various people, some exchanges clearly more than casual. One photo shows him handing an envelope similar to the one I just received to another person. What is this? Liza gasps, her hand covering her mouth. I insert the USB into my laptop, and we watch as a video plays. It's Jules, speaking directly to the camera. If you're watching this, then things didn't go as planned. Mark, Liza was never unfaithful to you in the way you think. I'm not just an old friend, I'm also working undercover. Liza was helping me gather information on a corruption case within her company. Everything was supposed to be confidential. I apologize for the misunderstanding this caused. We sit back, shocked. The truth, far stranger and more complex than either of us had imagined, hangs heavy in the air. Liza turns to me, tears in her eyes. I wanted to tell you, but I was sworn to secrecy. It was all professional, Mark. I take her hand, the anger and betrayal slowly dissipating, replaced by a profound relief and newfound respect for the burdens she carried alone. I'm sorry I doubted you, I say, pulling her close. We have a lot to rebuild, but I think we can start by being truly honest with each other, she replies, resting her head on my shoulder. The night's revelations have unraveled the mysteries and misconceptions between us. As we sit together, the weight of secrets lifted, we're ready to face a new day, not with revenge or misunderstandings, but with a renewed commitment to trust and transparency. The road to recovery would be long, but for the first time in a long while, we felt ready to walk it together.